Hey everybody, it's Cody here from Rasslin Rage and Michigan Independent Weekly. I am joined by none other than Jexy Blakk. Now, I'm going to ask her a few questions very, very shortly. But before I do that, please smash the thumbs up and hit that red button down there that says subscribe. Make it gray. If it's gray, you did it right. And right next to that, there's a bell. Hit that too to be notified when all the awesome content comes on the channel, like this interview that I'm about to do with Jexy Blakk. So, Miss Jexy Blakk, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me, and I'm doing just fine as I possibly can be. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm hanging in there. Still not back to work, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah,
Now, I I first met you here in Michigan. You're not from Michigan, are you?
I am not. No, I am from Lima, Ohio, but I do wrestle primarily in Michigan. So
Oh,
yeah.
so another Lima, Ohio. Yeah, there's a lot of folks that I know in wrestling from Lima, Ohio. That must be some kind of like coincidence. I don't know.
Maybe
Yeah.
the Al Snow touch.
I think that's what it might be because Mr. Fitness is from Lima and there's a few other people that I know from Lima. So, did you grow up in Lima?
I did. Yep, born and raised.
Okay. So you grow up in Lima. What was your exposure to professional wrestling? Like how did you find pro wrestling?
Well, I mean, for me, like growing up, it's not something that I was into because of my parents.
Right?
Um, every year for the 4th of July week, my cousins from New Hampshire actually come and they stay here for a week. And it was like 1994. And my cousin had pulled out this WWF magazine and it had The Undertaker on the front of it. And she wouldn't let me touch it. Like she wouldn't let me touch it for nothing. But I remember like looking at it and I'm like, man, that dude looks like he looks badass. Like this guy just looks really cool. She's like, yeah, that's the Undertaker in wrestling. And I was a soccer player, so I was like super into soccer, and I was just like, okay, cool, like that dude looks dope, but I don't care about wrestling.
Right?
Um, and then in 1996, it was one of my teammates that I played soccer with. Used to hang out with him a lot, and went over to his house, and they had this life-size cutout of Sting.
Ha,
And I'm like, okay, like what is this? And he's like starts telling me about wrestling. He's like, yeah, it's on Monday night. You should go watch it. And I went home and I was flipping through the channels one night and I saw Stone Cold. And I'm like, oh my God, this dude's cool. He looks like a badass too. And I just keep watching.
right.
And later on in the night, there comes Undertaker. I'm like, oh my God, that's the dude from the magazine. And but like literally seeing Stone Cold, that's what it was. And then I fell in love with Shawn Michaels. But I do very specifically remember like the next night calling my friend that I played soccer with. I was like, yeah, I watched wrestling last night. This Stone Cold dude's really awesome. He's like, you're watching the wrong wrestling. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm watching the wrong wrestling? Found out about WCW, and it really just kind of spiraled from there. Huge DX fan, huge DX fan even to this day, and that's how I kind of found it.
Well, that's
But
awesome. That's really good. Now, from there, at some point, obviously you caught the bug to watch, right? At what point in life did you catch the bug to say, hey, I want to become or be a professional wrestler and sought out training?
China,
Really?
China, yeah, yep. She was so mind blowing. Just this incredibly powerful, strong woman, and there was nobody like her, and she's out there just killing all the men. And it kind of to bring it back to soccer a little bit, I was on an all boys team. So in my head at that age, like I related to her in some way because I was always mixing it up with the boys. Um, and then like what really solidified it for me is here in Lima, there used to be this sports store in the mall, and they would bring in all of these wrestlers and they do the autograph signings and this and that, right? Um, And I was 15 at the time, and I went to the owner of the store and I'm like, hey, like, can I work under the table for you? And I'll just like clean up your store or do
Right.
whatever. Um, And I would always make it a point to sit in front of the glass case that had all the wrestling memorabilia in it. And then one day, this guy came in and he was just talking to me about wrestling. And like 2 hours later, he finally says to me, he's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a wrestler."
Really?
Like, "You're a wrestler?" Right? Um, Shannon Smothers, and he wrestled here locally in Lima and different places in Ohio. And again, this is in like 1999, 2000.
Okay.
And he took me to a show with him, and he taught me how to run the ropes and how to bump, and just doing different things like that, set up, tear down, basic etiquette. And that's when I met Slim Trimmins at the same time. So we kind of, yeah, traveled around a little bit. But I wasn't ready. I was so young at the time. Like, I just wasn't physically, mentally ready to fully engage in that. So
So Slim Trimmins, the man. I've known Slim for a few years now. He's been on the show. He was actually my second interview I ever did. He good guy, man. Real
yeah.
good guy for sure. So
Yeah.
you go to school. Did you actually go to a training program, or did just with what this gentleman here did with you?
Well, when I was 15, no, that it was just like things that we would do in the ring.
Right.
Ultimately, I ended up kind of moving on and doing real life stuff. So I went to college. I moved, yeah, right. Moved to San Diego, and
Oh
it just never
wow.
left me. Like everything that, no matter what I did, where I worked, where I was at, I was like, I want to wrestle. So in 2017, I moved back to Ohio, and I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not getting any younger. This is it. And it's just been full steam ahead. So I went to the Ohio Pro Wrestling Academy, which is down in Newark, Ohio. It's down by Columbus, and that's where I trained at. Yeah, it is. It was actually it's three people. James Avery is the head trainer, and
Okay.
then Samson Grove and Chad Stevens. So there's three of them.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Now, like, did it was it like a set period of time that you went through? And I know you're never done training, really, but
No.
was there a certain amount of time that before they said, "Okay, we're going to put our stamp on you to say you're safe or whatever, and go out and do business"?
Yep. Typically, he runs his class for a year,
Okay.
or when they feel like you said that we're going to put your stamp on you, we think you're safe. So I trained for about 7 months,
Okay.
and then got cleared.
That's awesome. Some guys, I hear of different schools and different ways that they do things. And, some schools do a set amount of weeks, and then you have a open membership to their dojo or whatever they may call it. And then other places, like you said, like do it something like a martial arts school where you don't go up or move on until I or the trainer says, "I think you're ready." And I
Right.
think that's kind of I would think that would probably be better in the end. I would say, because that way somebody doesn't slip through the cracks. You know what I mean?
Sure. And like you were saying, having a set curriculum, I think that's one of the things that's so amazing about the House of Truth and Truth School, because he has his curriculum that's so well structured that you're not missing everything.
Mhm.
Every week, every day, you're building and you're building and you're building until, he knows.
Oh yeah.
Just amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and I've been told that there are people where he said you ain't ready. You got to let's
Sure.
let's get back in, right? And that's awesome, because
Yeah.
obviously we don't want anybody to get hurt. So you get into training, you get your stamp, and you go out and you start working. Now you're down in Ohio at this time. Did you? Now I primarily have seen you in Michigan. I've seen you at Rising Action Wrestling. I've seen you at XI. I've seen you at a couple different promotions here in the state. Uh, what was it like coming out of that? What was it? Did you find it hard to get on the grind and get booked on shows, or did you follow the common thing to do and go in and set up and do what you're supposed to, and that's how you got booked? How did it go about for you?
It's honestly it's a little bit of both. When I was still in training, I was actively going to shows every weekend.
Okay.
So I was networking. Um, I do have a local promotion here in Lima. It's War Wrestling, and I met people through War, and most namely Orlando Christopher, who's obviously from Michigan. And I travel with him and learn from him. He's incredible, nothing but absolute love and respect for him. He's done so much for me. But really, that was like a key to my networking, because I was always learning with him and riding with him, and I would go to different shows all throughout Michigan and meet somebody else, and then they're like, hey, they'd hit me up like, why don't you come up here? And that's really where I established myself. Like, um, I manage Paragon, also, who is an Ohio guy. He works a lot in Indiana. So within the last, 6, 7, 8 months, I've really started kind of branching out into Indiana. But even still being in Ohio, like I work at War here, but I'm in Michigan way more than anything else. But yeah, hmm, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. In some ways, yes. I mean, for me, if you would have had this going on, like I said, in 96, 97, when I was really coming into this, it would have been heaven on earth. I couldn't get enough of it. But now, in some way, I do think oversaturation does hurt. In social media, in some ways, because we do have so much content all of the time. If there's not a show, there's recaps, there's videos, there's people posting, they're doing pictures, they're doing, whatever. That in some ways I think it hurts, as far as creative wise, because we have to have it right now. Whereas back then, it was VHS tape. You recorded it, and if you missed it, you missed it. There was no DVR to go back. Um, so now it's like it's an on-demand thing. And I think with some of the on-demand, we're constantly, it has to be new.
Right.
So instead of building these storylines of where you could do it for 3, 6 months and then have your huge ending, it's all being compressed and a lot of things are happening a lot quicker. So I think that there's not as much depth to stories. There's not as much, and you're fighting to come up with more creative ideas because things are happening so fast.
Right.
Um, but for a fan, especially if you have like a niche kind of genre that you're really into, if you really like Japanese wrestling, you have that. If you really like hardcore wrestling, you have hardcore wrestling. There's so many things to choose from.
Absolutely. There
So
is a lot to choose from right now. There's a lot, and it's not a bad thing necessarily, because some of these, like, Impact's putting on a different product than say WWE. WWE's putting on a different product than say AEW, and then so on and so forth across the board. Great stuff though. Great stuff. Now, you came into the game. You're right now. We're in the pandemic. So what are you doing with yourself right now? Are you working? Have you not? Were you essential? Not essential? What's going on? How are you keeping yourself sane?
yeah, a little bit of both. When it all first started, I was essential.
Okay.
Then business slowed down for where I work. I made the decision to take the time off because I do, again, live with somebody who is in the medical field. And I just felt like it was, personal responsibility to kind of, while everything was going on, take a step back. But within the last few weeks, I did start back at work. But wrestling wise, I'm doing promo tournaments. Yeah. So that's been a lot of fun, creative wise. I've been working on my gear, putting different pieces together. Just kind of restructuring and developing Jexy a little bit more. That's been fun.
That's that's good stuff. Now, speaking of promos, I'm a big fan of your promos. I've
Oh
said that
no.
I've said that a few times, but I got to ask. We've seen a character or a couple characters in your promos ahead. Is that a little shout out to El Snow there, or what's going on?
Yeah, definitely. Um, when when all of this started, that's kind of like how I felt. I'm like, I don't have anybody, and I've had that mannequin head for 20 years sitting, and it sits on my dresser, and I'm just sitting there one day, and I like literally start having this conversation with Head where I'm like cutting a promo on Head. I'm like, okay, we got to do this. We got to make a video, and it kind of just went from there. But yeah, it's definitely a tribute to Al for sure.
It's awesome, man. I seen that and I was like, this is amazing. And then that
Thank
the
you.
promo, I forget which Diesel show it was for Rising Action Wrestling there, but it was a promo you did. It was on Shayla Hyde and the Ovarian Fortitude. Oh my God. Me and the guys, like, we lost our stuff about that. Like, now we just scream it at people. You don't have ovarian fortitude. It's amazing. Love it. So now
Thank you.
you made a trend over here with Rasslin Rage and MI Dub.
I love it.
Yeah, good.
That's awesome.
Speaking of Rise in Action Wrestling, they got a new belt for the boys. I see, and they do have
Yeah.
women. They do have women over there, and you're in there along with Shayla, and there's a few other ladies that I've seen that I'm not familiar with yet. Um, but women wrestling, it's a big thing, man. It's huge. I know you know. Uh, One of the things I've noticed, for instance, like, I have a match that between you and Heidi Katrina from
Mhm.
XICW. I have a match between you and Shayla Hyde. I have a match with you, Shayla Hyde, and I can't remember the other lady's name, from uh, New Breed or something like that. But
Yep.
now, every time I post a woman's match, it goes insane with views. It's insane how crazy it is. People eat the women wrestling up. They love it. And one person I've interviewed even said to me that they believe that the women are the spotlight of the show right now. And that's all the way across the board. Feds, independents, all the way across. Tell me what you think on that, and what do you think? Do you think you're part of this movement, or is it a movement that is already there?
Sure. Well, and then also have to give her her dues. The third girl was Valentina Loca.
Okay.
Uh, but I mean, do I think that it was already there? Yeah. It started a few years back when they started doing everything with the Fed. And they were no longer divas, and there was no
Right.
longer, the bra and panty matches or whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
We have definitely come a long way. But what's interesting about that too, to me, is you did have talent out there. I mean, one of my personal favorites is Manami Toyota, and if you know anything about her, her runs in the '90s, she would easily hold up today. She's incredible. She's so far ahead of her time. So you've always had talent there. It was just a matter of getting, I think, everybody else on board to really accepting it and then putting a little bit of respect behind it, where they're like, okay, this is legitimate. There's legitimate talent out here. Would I like to think I'm a part of it? Sure. I'm new to the game, so I'm working on doing my part
Right.
to keep it strong and interesting,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but as far as being the spotlight of the show, I mean, sure, to an extent, because you've seen men do all of these different things, these different types of matches. So I think when you get women in that, it's got a little bit more of appeal to it because you've never seen it.
True. I like that. I never really thought about it that way. Well, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Wow. Man, look at that. Just putting some
Uh-huh.
thought on me there. You make boom, dropping the
Hey.
mic. Right. That's right. Crazy stuff going on. Now, I really enjoy some, not all matches, but for instance, in the Fed there for a while, there were some main events going on where the women were main eventing, major pay-per-views and things like that. And there was people talking trash, but there was a good amount of times where if you watch the Fed at all, that the women were showing up to guys, in my opinion. And that's where I get that, where they say if you don't put the women on the show, like for instance, when they did the show over in Saudi Arabia and there was no women on the show, it's just not the same. It's just not the same. Even if it's outside of the element of looks, right? I don't care. I want to watch a match. I want to watch, like, I'd love to see Charlotte Flair and, whoever go at it. I love watching that match, even though I think
Yeah.
Charlotte Flair is beautiful.
Yeah, sure.
I still want to watch her wrestle because she's amazing in the ring.
Right.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Now,
Definitely.
forward, I mean, once we get back to the grind, and I know things aren't going to be exactly like 100% normal, but what is Jexy Blakk looking to do? Like, do you have goals? Is there something that you're looking to make yourself stronger, give yourself like stronger points in wrestling, things like that? Tell us what you got.
Of course, we can't train right now.
Right.
So definitely, uh, go back, continue training, building on that, continue traveling, go as many places, states as I possibly can, as many promotions as I possibly can. I was actually, this upcoming week, I was supposed to be in Atlanta doing a con. So we would have been wrestling for 4 days straight.
Dang.
Yeah, so that was kind of a bummer. But just keep expanding on that. And,
Yeah.
you kind of touched on a little bit earlier, I've been managing. So I really do enjoy that. That's a lot of fun for me. I love that role. Just keep doing that, learning and gaining experience and, doing the best I can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm looking forward to getting back to watching wrestling. Like listen, I know, I can watch on TV and I can click a link on YouTube, yada yada yada. But
It's not the same.
no, absolutely, especially when it comes to the independents. Okay, I am so looking forward to get back to it and getting in there and watching, right? Because I can't get in the ring because I'm not trained. But I would really, and can't wait. Is there maybe somebody, another woman, maybe a guy, who knows? Maybe you want to knock some dude out. Who knows? Um, is there anybody you're looking forward to maybe having a match with here in
Yeah.
Michigan or anywhere for that matter?
Oh, sure. I mean, it doesn't matter where. I'd love to lock up with Jocelyn again. I
Oh,
think
there you
that
go.
would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Zoe Sky, she's amazing. I'd love to, wrestle her. So
Yeah.
there's a few people out there. We'll see how it goes. We got some stuff going on behind the scenes that
Right. Yeah, we have no idea when we're going to get back to it. I mean, there's speculation and there's this and there's that, and we just don't know, and everybody's chomping at the bit. My Facebook's blowing up with wrestlers that are like, dude, I just want to jump off something. Like, it's crazy, it's nuts, and they're losing it. They're losing it.
yeah,
You really don't figure out how much a part of your life it is until it's gone. Because really, it's gone. It's
yeah.
just gone. There's there's nothing. It's TV, right? But I mean, it's gone. And are you feeling like a PC is kind of missing, or you're like chomping to find something to do?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely. One of the things I miss the most is just traveling with my friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's definitely been a thing where I'm like, I feel that loss a lot too. But excuse me. I actually ran up to my mom the other day and I put her in a headlock and she's just standing there. I'm like, really? You're just gonna no sell me, mom? Like, so you get the urge every once in a while, and it's funny you say that because your upcoming guest, Mr. Tommy Vendetta, the man who wants to, he's like, I'm just gonna jump off my roof. Like he misses it a lot. Excuse me. Uh,
He's a little crazy, but his mom won't
oh,
let him
totally
jump
crazy.
off the roof. But if I was crazy, I'd just jump off the roof anyways. But hey,
I did that once.
there you go. Well, we had him on the show Sunday with Aaron and Jack Price, when we were live and we were talking to those guys. So that was a really good conversation too, man. Just to listen to those guys just rap, and it was cool, man. Good stuff. Getting up here in Michigan, Jexy, listen, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. And I don't know if you know, but I know most of the people that watch my stuff, I like to do more than say one interview with people because, listen, in 2 years or a year from now, we're not going to see the same Jexy Blakk. It's going to be a different Jexy Blakk. So I really look forward to seeing you in the future and sitting down with you and having this conversation and seeing what you've been up to and where your career's gone from now until then. But before we get out of here, do you have social media that you would like people to follow you on? And for those of you that are watching, I'm going to go ahead and put all that down in the description here on YouTube, so you can just click the link and head right on over and subscribe and or follow on all platforms. So please, Miss Blakk, hit them with the good stuff.
I will. But first, let me say thank you.
Oh,
this is
absolutely.
awesome. I've been looking forward to it since you first asked me.
Oh,
And
thank you.
truthfully, from the bottom of my heart, and I know from a lot of the other guys out there, we really do appreciate what you do.
Oh.
You are an amazing person who goes out of your way to promote what we do, to promote independent wrestling, Michigan wrestling. Like you're awesome, dude. Like really, truthfully, for real. So thank you for being awesome
Thank you
and doing
so
what
much.
you do, your whole team. But
Thank
as
you.
far as me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Jexy Rocks, and
Jexy
then
Rock.
on Facebook at Jexy Blakk, but it is BLAKK.
BLAKK. You hear that? Make sure that you put that right, because you will find the wrong person. And
Right. Yeah. Matt Wayne Breeding.
Right.
Who can't spell my name right ever.
You might get catfish too. You never know. You might end up with somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
But again, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you again. And we look forward to seeing you at a show very, very soon.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Right. Amen to that.